Good evening. We're going to go ahead and get started, and we'll call this meeting to order. Dr. Foley, roll call.
President Reese, members of the board, please let the record show that all members are present.
Thank you. We're going to go ahead and have a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I move that we approve the agenda as it's presented.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. We are now going to go into the public hearing portion. So at this time, the meeting will recess for the purpose of holding a public hearing on the revised expenditure budget for the 2021-2022, the revised budget for 2020-2021 school year in accordance with ARS 15-905.01. Members of the audience are invited to make comments and ask questions during the public hearing. I just want to make a note on the public agenda that was posted. We did make a correction. It was initially posted that it was for the fiscal year 2021-2022 expenditure budget, but the correction is that this is actually our revised budget for the 2020-2021 expenditure budget. Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. This is our annual revision. Can you go to the next slide, please? So prior to May 15th of the budget year, districts must make all revisions that would result in a decrease or increase in their budget limits. Some factors that affected our 2021 budget revision, as we've talked about all year, our COVID relief grant funding has played a major factor in terms of our budget balance and how we've been able to offset some of the expenses the district has incurred this year. In this revision, you'll see ESSER 1 and the ESG amounts of $3.2 million. ESSER 2, ESSER 3 are not in this revision, so that you'll be shown in the proposed budget that we'll bring to you on June 9th. On bullet point 3 there, we've experienced a 160 ADM loss in fiscal year 2020-2021. That is reflected in this budget revision. That's approximately 1.3% of our enrollment, and Higley has been very fortunate in that this is a low percentage compared to some of our neighboring districts in the central kind of Maricopa, excluding Queen Creek, but central Maricopa, Kyrene, Tempe. We have been very fortunate in this enrollment loss that has not affected us greatly. This is, again, our 100th day numbers, so this is not total school year, so whatever enrollment we do take on outside of this is not reflected in this revision. As we mentioned in the budget conversations earlier this year, we've taken a reduction in this online learning adjustment from ADE. This adjustment has been revised down to $1.2 million, and which I'll cover in a later slide, but that's on the 140th day. So we have a couple different days in which we're capturing data here, but at the 140th day, that estimate is probably like 30% of our district from day 1 to day 140 was in some sort of online learning platform. And that is reduced at the 95%, or we're funded at 95% of those days. So that's where that reduction comes from. So you'll see that incorporated into this budget revision. We've also mentioned a reduction in M&O to capital transfer. So we adopted a $6 million transfer, and we've have since looked at that and realized that we will only need to transfer 4.4 million, which again is a benefit to our M&O budget. Next slide, please. So again, I mentioned our adopted ADM was 12,531. This was adopted on June 24th, 2020. This projected a flat enrollment in the district at the time, and I think it was a very safe projection considering the circumstances at the time. We experienced, like I mentioned, 160 ADM loss, which is roughly 1.3%. Majority of the losses come from our K-8 kind of group. We've actually gained enrollment in the 9 through 12. And again, the preschool level, we've taken some loss. So we anticipate most of these kids coming back next year, but we are again projecting a flat budget, which you'll see, a flat enrollment, which you'll see in our June 9th, 2022 budget projections.
Mr. Moore, can I
Yeah.
interrupt for a second? This is a phenomenal number for Higley, and I just want to, again, shout out to everybody that attributed to this. I know we did lose some beautiful families in Higley. We also gained some beautiful families in Higley. And everybody during this season had to do what was best for them, and I just know that this number is unheard of in our surrounding districts. So kudos to Higley and all who make it happen.
Next slide, please. So how those numbers total in our revised 2021 budget, you'll see again our adopted, so 2021 JBL, this is our total budget taking in M&O, capital, grants, this is all our funds available to us, was 120 million. In this revised budget, we are including the distance learning adjustment of 1.2 million of loss. We are including the ESSER 1 and ESSER 2 money, that's 3.2 million back into the budget. And then we're including the reduction from transfer from M&O to capital, so that's 1.6 million. And that's really moving from capital to M&O, but that is all reflected into this 128 million. A majority of the difference, how we get to this JBL difference of 7.6 million comes from our 2020 carryover, budget balance carryover. We are very fortunate to carry over a healthy amount of money, which helped us offset some of these adjustments and losses that we've incurred. This number is within 2% of what we were bringing to you earlier this year and some of our projections, so pretty accurate reflection of what we planned, and this is definitely a benefit to the district moving into next year in terms of our salary adjustments that we've approved and our future M&O budget capacity. So with that, that is my presentation. If there's any questions.
Does anyone have any questions? Anyone from the audience have any questions? Right. Okay. Well, thank you. And I know that a lot of this information, well, all of this information isn't new because you guys have done a great job in covering the budget, what we're looking at for next year as well as this year. So thank you. All right, with that, we will reconvene back into our open session. And we will move on, and I move that we approve the revised budget for the 2020-2021 school year.
Second.
All right, any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries 5-0. All right, that's the only business we had today, so I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All right. All right. Mrs. Anderson, you seconded. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting's adjourned.